Thank you very much. First of all, as an ex-head of the music department, I was head of the music department for 6 years at the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens. I would like to thank very much Dinos Georgunchos and Vasilis Ginos for this kind invitation in this special event. Thank you very much for inviting me here, and also my ex-student, Yorgos Mizalis, who works for them, who has introduced me in these conferences of music industry. My name is Anastasia Georgaki. I am professor in music technology, and of course in our department we do many different things that concern also music industry from a different point of view. We teach a lesson, music industry, in the second semester, but we start always with Adorno. So I must say that because here we speak a lot about money, and we must see in a way what is music industry. And music industry that has 100 years, if we can say, till now was mostly audio. We had the history of phonography, from the first phonographer to the gramophone, to the magnetophone, to the compact disc, and after to the cloud, or IDAT cloud, or whatever. And the ways of networking and distribution, broadcasting, all these things are music industry. Also, live performances is music industry. But now we are in front of an enemy or a friend, AI. So now music industry has started to be a creator and co-creator. So till now, we're always speaking about how we're going to to have a perfect sound. And now we are saying how we're going to have a perfect song. So today I'm going to borrow some stories from ancient Greek mythology in order to say where are we going to, which are the ethical dilemmas, and how can we stop this rise of AI. I would like to tell you, as a music technology researcher, I go very often in conferences, and the conferences are computer music, International Computer Music Conference, Sound and Music Computing, but also ISMIR. And at ISMIR conference, there are the scientists that work for the AI-generated music. And now they work for the expressivity of the singing voice and of the instruments for the AI-generated music. Okay, and after that, what are we going to do? So, the synopsis is that the music industry in the era of digital media is, as I told you, it's not a question of audio, phonographic audio, and distribution and networking, but the generative AI. And I can tell you there that everything has started also in the universities, in the research centers, because the first generative music has been introduced in the States by Ledger and Hiller, and after we will see what happened in Europe with Xenakis, etc. And which are the domains of applications? There are many, but the most important is Suno and Tudio. And after I will speak to you about ethical issues, how we are creating chimeras, AI-generated music where we blend styles, artists, even human and machine, and how we speak about the hidden and very precious knowledge of the apples of Hesperides, which are mostly divine, and this is the human creation that will be stolen and is being stolen every day. So, just to start, as you see, I start by a reference to Georgina Bohr and Barry A. for music mediation theories and actor network theory. And in our days, I can say the concept of mediation in relation to music has a rich history and varied meanings. Its most famous proponent, Theodor Adorno, drew his theory of mediation from a Hegelian interpretation of Marx, filtered through Lukács. Building on Marx's account of the antagonisms constitutive of the social totality, he depicts music as a fractured whole, the locus of a dialectic between history and nature, subject and object, human consciousness and musical materials. In the future, we are going to speak about AI consciousness. You know about that. What are we going to do in the future? So here, we see that Adorno analyzes mediation by industrial capitalism and the institutions of mass entertainment and concert life. And his main concern was with how mediation diagnoses not only the actual condition of music, but its potential transformation. And here we can see the transformation. From 2001 to 2020. And we could also have some graphics to see the transformation of music industry from 1920 till 2020. And it is amazing. You see here that the blue color is streaming music, and the other is performance. So, sorry, here, just to say, make just a brief overview of algorithmic composition, I would like to tell you that when we speak about generative AI, in our mind, we have music and mathematics, okay? And we teach music and mathematics at the universities, starting from Pythagoras, of course, and going to Mozart's dice. You know Mozart dice. Here is a very nice figure. This is the evolution of AI generative music. And after we speak about Ledger and Hiller, and mid-20th century avant-garde with Xenakis, John Cage, the emergence of computer-based narrative music, and after, from all these models that have been developed in the frame of the computer music research in the universities in the States, in Europe, and after in Japan, we have the technology that comes with the emergence of computer-based generative music in the 60s and 90s, till 90s, at Stanford University, algorithmic and AI-driven generative systems, anti- and neural networks, and today we have generative music that we have in our mobile apps, like Endless Bloomscape. We have Suno and Udio. I am astonished by the perfection of this software. And we have also, we use a lot, also at the university, generative music in meditation and wellness, video games, virtual and augmented reality, ambient AI soundscapes, live coding, and algorithms. And here we can see how generative AI models mimic artists, create new voices, and compose in seconds. So we have Suno, Jukebox, Showmax that will be presented by Gerard, but has nothing to do with all this commercial software, because Showmax is a creative software that improvises and orchestrates in real time, where it has always a musician, in a reaction with a musician. And we see that today we have a lot of syncing voice softwares. And like that, I would like to tell you, I made the research to see which are the music genres that risk mostly from AI-generated music. And you can see here which are the most popular music genres. And this is hip-hop, pop, And after you have, I don't know, Latin, and you see what has to do with jazz, classical, and other, it's very, 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 very short. And here, I asked AI, and I said, which is the genre of music that risks more from AI-generated music? And they told me, lo-fi, chill pop, ambient background music, pop music, instrumental, hip-hop, trap beats, etc. Okay, so now we are speaking about music industry. Where are these genres in music industry? And how much do the musicians of jazz gain in Spotify and in other companies? Please tell me, how much do they gain? How much do they earn? You know that they don't have the same proportion as they have with hip hop, trap, etc. So it's very easy, maybe, to create hip hop and trap. It's very, very difficult to create difficult orchestrations in jazz and improvisations and harmonies, but also expressive singing voices. And here we come with the chimeric creations. What is a chimera? You know that chimera has lion, goat, and serpent. It's a monster. And sometimes we can see that in this AI Suno creation, you can have monsters like chimera with hybrid tracks, with vocals, with deep fake vocals, with stylistic mashups. And here we come and we speak about voice expressivity, which is the new domain of research in information music retrieval. How are we going to make more expressive the singing voices or the musical performances? So if you want to have a musical performance more expressive, you must play with the dynamics, you must play with the rubato, the tempo, with the portamento, the attack, but also if you want to have expressive voices, you can play with timing variations, as I said, and with articulation, and with expressive phrasing choices, and many things like that. So the second that I will comment here is the apples of the Hesperids. The apples in both cases are solid gold, beautiful to behold, and grant immortality. An obvious symbol they represent is immortality because it is the power they grant when eaten. And here we have this human, intellectual property that are the golden apples that are being stolen every day. And what's going to happen in the future if you replicate these golden apples? What's going to happen with the humanity? And here we have a lot of things like copyright collapse, devaluation of human artistry, loss of cultural content, and many other things. And this is the reason I say that from prominent artists, we go to prompt artists, as this is the Velvet Sundown, an AI-generated group that has appeared last year in Spotify with 1 million listeners. And of course, when you ask the AI, which is the most popular music genre of 2025, is hip-hop and rap. So the melody is minimized. The harmony is minimized. The orchestration is automatic. No dynamics, no expression, no articulation. Okay? And here we see that in the future, we are going to see many, many ethical issues for this AI-generated music. Authorship and ownership of AI-generated music. AI's ability to replicate the style of established musicians and that raises concerns about the potential for plagiarism. The inevitable increase in the artistic surplus population and decrease in creative labor cost. As AI increasingly shapes the creation and dissemination of music, the significant underrepresentation of music research presents a serious threat to global musical diversity. Yesterday, someone said about cultural diversity, and we see that 18.6 of the total dataset hours are from the northern cultural music, from the music from the north. So we don't have representatives from Asia, from Africa, from Greece, if you want, because Greece is between East and West and has different styles and different micro-intervals, tunings, modes. We don't have that. Where so is the cultural diversity in all these platforms and in AI-generated music? Here I will refer also to the Plateau Cave for the future generation. Why? Because if our children and our grandchildren in the future, they listen to AI-generated music more and more, they are going to listen to shadows, like in the Plato's Cave. And they will never reach the reality, the real 3 dimensions, the colors, and the soul of the real music. And there I can say that AI will be autoreferential in the future. And what are we going to do when it's autoreferential? Is he going to exclude other genres like the masters of work in classical music or in jazz or even in rock with very nice, expressive, singing voices? What are we going to do? Another thing is the tacit acceptance of neocolonial practices based on the exploitation of existing music and listeners' preferences. This is another trap, because we decide which kind of list we are going to create based on the listeners' preferences. The loss of jobs by creators who work in advertising, television, film, reducing the demand for human composers and producers. Another one is that AI struggles to fully reproduce voice and instrument expressivity because it lacks emotion, intention, physicality, and human experience and presence, bodiless voices. Musicians and singers adjust their expressiveness in real time based on feedback, their own feelings, their own reenaction, the room's acoustics. AI doesn't feel or react in the moment. It generates outputs based on probabilities and not on emotions. So these are the big ethical questions about AI-generated music. And I think that another big problem is the problem, as you said, all of you, of distribution. So just to finish, because here is my bibliography, my references for this presentation. And I would like now, of course, to discuss with our invited in the panel, but also with you. First of all, to see where are we going to stop this AI-generated music, and of course, the research that is being carried in our institutions in order to detect the expressivity of the singing voice, of the musical performance, and of the instruments. Because in the future, you are not going to be able, if you listen to a real band or an AI band, because of that. Second, I know that there are a lot of experiments that are being carried out in many departments about recognizing an AI creation and a natural creation. And this is in the domain of neurosciences. And there we start to ask ourselves, can you recognize the difference? If in the future the ears and the brain of our children and grandchildren cannot recognize the difference, and if in the future they are not going to be able to go to a concert and have the feelings that we have and we had in our ages, what is going to happen? What about developing emotions through music? This is one of the main interesting research areas in neuroscience and music. What's going to happen? So here we are. That were my questions about AI-generated music. Thank you very much.